Hi, guys. I'm Nina,
I'm Jamie.
I'm Ethan.
and we are Bloody Essentials. Just a quick thank you to all of our listeners for supporting the show. Thank you guys so much. It really means a lot to us. Also, shout out to our Patreon members, Rick, Swift, and David. Guys, we love you so much. Thank you for supporting the show. It really means a lot. But more importantly, we're just glad to call you our friends and appreciate all of your horror recommendations and critiques of some of our choices. So thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Also, flashback weekend, Chicago, August 1st through the 3rd. We will be there. So if you will be in Chicago that weekend, come out, say hello. Let's get some pictures. If you've got cosplay, come by because we'd love to see that and get pictures. And yeah, so tonight is going to be very special because we have a longtime friend of all of ours that's going to be on the podcast tonight. His name is John, and he recommended a fun giallo movie for us. It's called One on Top of the Other from 1969. It is a Lucio Fulci movie. So, hey, John.
Welcome.
Hey.
Welcome to the show. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, it has been a long time.
How are you doing, bud?
I'm doing much better. I've
Good.
Just got home from work a few hours ago, so I'm happy.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. And what better way to spend the rest of your day than talking about Fulci and a giallo?
Absolutely. And then,
Yeah.
like any other, I might add.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Ethan's like, So, John, when was the first time you saw One on Top of the Other?
Actually, this was the first time watch for me.
Really? Okay.
When you first, because I think either you might have suggested it or maybe I did, but when I first saw, okay, giallo movie, okay, I'm interested. Lucio Fulci, okay, I'm even more interested. Now, when you say it's a giallo movie, there's a certain level of expectation.
Yes.
When you say Lucio Fulci, there is another level of expectation.
Agreed.
Very.
Yeah.
This movie didn't do a single solitary one of those things. No black glove killer, no crazy murder set pieces, no crazy wild murders or nothing.
Yeah.
And I was about half an hour into the movie, and I'm thinking, this movie is not going to do what I think it's going to do. And you know what? I ain't mad at it. In fact, when it first started, I had to double check to make sure that I was watching the right movie.
Same.
Because I was not expecting a giallo in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Why to have a banging jazz score? I was happy from when it started. Something about Fulci's where I'm much bigger of Argento fan. Sorry, Jamie.
Okay.
But
he's good too. I'll allow it.
I enjoyed Argento a lot more because I have to be in a certain mood to watch a Fulci movie.
Yeah.
Fair.
For sure.
Because there's a lot of his later stuff, especially there's a certain sense of darkness and something that's there that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Big name.
This movie had none of that. There was an incredible sense of whimsy that was in this movie.
Yeah.
And that I found out some things after I watched the movie I looked into that I think might have contributed to that.
Okay.
Ooh.
Can't wait to hear about those.
Talk about that later. But yeah, I thought that this movie was, I had a great time watching this movie. It did not do what I expected it to do, but it did a whole lot of other things.
Yeah.
I wasn't mad about. And, the original title for this movie was One on Top of the Other, and then the way they do it is they have to Americanize it and make it perversion story, which is just stupid. An alternate title for this movie could have been Hell Twin Tits.
Yes,
Yes.
totally.
Because
Love that.
it delivered that part of a giallo movie.
Oh
It
yeah.
did.
Yes.
Yeah. And this was a first time watch for the rest of us too, right?
It was a
Yes.
first time watch for me. Yeah,
Okay,
definitely
yeah.
was.
Yeah. I watched it earlier today and I'm like, interesting. I was texting Ethan. All right. Let's get into plot points, shall we?
Okay, now if I miss anything, guys, feel free to jump in and help me out here, okay? Okay, one on top of the other. Yeah, like you said, we start off with some jazz and some city shots. And then we meet our main character, George, and his brother, Henry, and they run some kind of medical clinic. And they're having a conversation. Henry, I believe, is kind of upset about this controversial story that's been in the paper about their clinic, something to do with heart transplants. And George is kind of like, well, that's the news for you. But anyway, yeah, there's this kind of story out there. Okay. We learn that George's wife is ill with serious asthma. Her sister, Marta, I believe is her name, is taking care of her. I will say that there's a point where George goes in to see her and everything, and I love how the camera kind of like panned around them as they were having the conversation. Like, I will say the cinematography in this movie had some really high points. Very cool.
Yeah.
I love the camera work that they did in this is very cool, but there's a point where him and his wife are talking and it kind of like moves around them in a circle, and it was beautiful.
It's incredible. It's incredible. Yeah.
It was so cool. Okay. But we learned that their marriage isn't doing so great. She's like, well, you're always at the clinic and all this stuff. But you know what? It's not the clinic's fault. It's your fault. Okay. It's you, George.
Okay.
Tell me how you really feel.
Yeah. And then I think it's great because then we have the nurse who comes in and like George kind of flirts with her immediately and is like, oh, hey, who are you? You're taking care of my wife now? Hello.
Can you take care of me too? Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, everything is kind of painting out George so far to maybe not be the most stand-up guy in the world. But we're gonna follow him in the story, and it's early.
Listen, what we have always learned from these giallo movies, there are no good people and bad people. There's people of all ranges. They've got good and bad both in them. And
True.
They just because the main character is not necessarily a good guy doesn't mean he is the bad guy.
Right.
This is true.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I love how he tells the nurse too that his wife is strange. But they go over her meds, and I just have to say, I think like the idea of asthma medication and heavy duty tranquilizers together
right next to each other. Yeah.
Like, guys, that sounds like maybe not a great combination, first of all, and maybe they shouldn't be so close together. I'm just going to put it out there.
I love the cinematography in this scene where they open it and it's clearly the camera is just right there on the shelf, right? And they zoom in on him pointing at one medication. They zoom in on her looking at it, and it's absolutely gorgeous the way they shot that. So beautiful.
And I will say this pops up a lot in giallos and other Italian films and probably other films of this era. But I love there's a lot of close-ups on eyes in this movie.
Yes.
Which is definitely a Fulci thing, but I've definitely seen it come up in other giallos and movies from this time. But I absolutely love all the close-ups on eyes in this movie.
I was examining the eyeliner on every woman in this movie.
Yeah,
it was fantastic.
So differently. Yeah. Okay. And then I also love George basically says, "Of course I love my wife," and then we go right into a sex scene with somebody not his wife. But let's talk about this sex scene really quick now. I have to say, I loved the thing where they were shooting up from underneath like a piece of glass or something,
Yeah.
and they just had them on top of it. That was so cool.
Beautiful.
Thoughts, guys?
Yeah, I had never seen that before. I thought that was very cool.
It was gorgeous. It felt very 60s, very risque. Like it looked like it belonged like in a Playboy magazine. It was absolutely breathtakingly gorgeous. I loved every second of it.
It was so cool. And they would like do different camera angles too. Like often when they were like kind of switching places, like it'd go above, it would go under, it would like, so I just thought that was a great scene. And there's a point too where just the lighting on their faces was so beautiful and like so craftfully done. Again, cinematography is great in this. Okay.
Yeah, you're gonna hear that a lot, just so you guys know.
Yeah, exactly. Obsessed with her little flower bra that she is wearing too. That was amazing.
All
I
the
was
women.
obsessed with what was in her bra.
I
Just
saw
saying.
a better pair later on, but all the women's bras in this
What?
movie are great.
Decorations in this movie. It was just
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So, Jane is this woman. They have a little chat and she's basically like, "All right, I'm leaving." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And he's like, "I'll drive you," or whatever. And we learn that, she's sold some part of the business. She's been planning to leave for a while and all this stuff. I love the car scene because I'm a sucker for car scenes. So when they're just driving along, I like that. And he takes her to the train station or airport or whatever. And there's a really pretty moment when she like touches his face and leaves.
Yeah.
But George actually ends up going to meet her at her stop anyway.
So
And they have
cute.
this. Yeah, I know, that was pretty sweet. They have this little like run and hug and go to have a little fun in Reno at the casino.
Ooh.
Yeah. I had to look it up like where they were exactly because I missed that in the conversation, but they went to Reno.
Okay.
And he gets the call that Susan, his wife, is dead. Okay.
He's pretty upset about that. Like he didn't love her anymore, but he was definitely shaken. He was like, I didn't want her to die. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was very upsetting, I think, for him.
Yeah. It was kind of an inconvenient, like things were inconvenient for him at the time, but yeah, he was upset about it and he didn't want that to happen to her. So, has to go back. She basically died of the asthma. And I will say, I thought the whole scene where you get the body reveal was really cool, like how the whole thing looked. She's on this black bed. There's a moment where there's a shot with him in the mirror, behind him, which was really, really cool. His brother is kind of consoling him and he's like, I need a tranquilizer. And his brother's like, you need more than a tranquilizer, man. Everybody's just on tranquilizers in this thing.
It's the 60s.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly. We learned that Marta, the sister, was never really a fan of George in the first place. So she doesn't really want anything to do with him in the situation. And then she has this beautiful walk down the stairs behind the body that I just thought was stunning as well.
I wonder how long it took to shoot that because it felt like it went on for a long time. They looked so uncomfortable carrying that body, but it really looked very graceful, very elegant, the way it was shot and how everybody carried themselves. It was very beautiful.
I thought it was really pretty too.
Yeah.
Okay. So, they get her all loaded up in the hearse. And then we cut to this really great moment in this photo studio where this woman is getting butterflies strategically placed on her gorgeous body.
Best part. So great. I love the dragonfly on her bottom. It was cute.
Yes. I was just going to say the dragonfly on the bottom is the best part.
Yeah.
And, they're posing her and stuff. And Great moment.
Oh,
I
she's
think
gorgeous.
I text Nina while I was watching it, and I was like, butterflies on my nipples. So
Yes. I'm very disappointed you didn't come out with the butterflies like you said you were.
I'm telling you, I tried to find some
Ethan.
butterflies because I was just going to put them on my nips and be like, boom, here's your movie. I couldn't find any.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, Ethan. All right. Well, next time we have the opportunity, with another
There you
movie
go.
that, yeah. So we
John.
learned that
John's like, what the hell did I sign up for?
You want butterflies on your nipples too. It's okay.
No, that could have been time. Like four flies on a nipple. I mean,
so that's when we kind of learn that George's lady Jane, she works with this photographer at this photo studio. Like, Jane is super cool. She's like helping get that set up and snapping photos. Like, she's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And we learn, this is when we start to learn that Susan, the wife, left George this $2 million inheritance.
And he didn't know anything about it.
Which he didn't know anything about.
Yeah,
he was totally
that's
surprised, but
important. Yeah.
and you know what? This movie came out in 1969, I believe. $2
Yes.
million would have been a lot of money. I mean, it's still a lot of money, but that would have been a lot of money in 1969.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And when George and his brother Henry talk about the inheritance, Henry is even saying, like, it's kind of weird that you didn't know about this. You didn't know anything at all about this? And he was like, no, I didn't know about this. It's just a really groovy surprise. We also learned that George is having some kind of money problems. Like, there's some money issues with the clinic, it sounds like. They're talking about paying off debt or a loan or something like that. So the money would be coming at a really beneficial time for him.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we have George and Jane, or George, and he's kind of at this outdoor market, and we have this spy guy who's kind of watching him. That's an insurance agent, because now there's this $2 million inheritance and they got to see what's up here. And Jane and George are going to have some dinner, but he's like, gotta go. My brother called me, whatever. But George is entranced by this place called the Roaring Twenties, and that's where he goes inside. And it's a strip club, and what a fun, groovy strip club it is. Like, all the girls dancing on the tables. I loved it. Like, everybody's having a blast. Yeah, there's swings. There's like big balls, like beach balls that they're like throwing around. And just to clarify, they're beach balls.
Yeah, I was like, balls. There's balls.
Balls are in the air. No,
Yes,
beach balls are in the air at this place. And yeah, so I just have to say I loved the Roaring Twenties Club. I thought that was so fun, and I love the name so much.
I love the bedazzled bikini zones. Those were fun.
Right?
Oh yeah, because some of them had like faces, and there was like, that was pretty.
It was
pretty
a
great.
lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Jane actually shows up, which is slightly embarrassing, and she's just like, "Give me a smoke." And they, settle in. And
what, John?
Didn't know you like shows like this.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. And then we get this really, really great number. It's this motorcycle striptease.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the motorcycle striptease, because it's so good? So this is a woman named Monica. She's blonde and fabulous, and she comes out, and it's this whole little bit on her motorcycle. Thoughts, guys? I love the stickers.
I wasn't a fan of the stickers personally, because I knew they were stickers and it pissed me off. But
yeah, I was not mad at the scene. Not at all.
I wasn't mad at the scene. The stickers just annoyed me. But I was like, why would you put a bumper on a Cadillac? Why would you put a bumper sticker on a Cadillac? Like, she's beautiful the way she is. Take the fucking stickers off.
I thought that the paint was cool, but I didn't like the stickers either.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm for the stickers, guys.
I thought she was great. I love the blonde wig very much on her. It looks good.
It looks amazing. And like the whole little number was really fun. I love that it was like on a motorcycle. Very fun.
Very
But
unique, yeah.
yeah, the thing that's really crazy about Monica is that she looks exactly like his wife, Susan, except she's got blonde hair and she's got different colored eyes. But they're both looking at her like that looks just like her. And Jane is like, oh wow, like George is a goner, like, because obviously this looks just like his wife.
It's so funny. They're like, it looks just like her, but she's dead, and this girl's got green eyes. It couldn't be her. Bro,
He's looking.
come on.
He can't keep it. Jane is looking at him like, "Hey, George, what are you up to? What the fuck is going on? Because there's some shenanigans going on here."
Oh, yeah.
By the way, did anybody think that George looked like Robert Wagner? It bugged me through the whole damn.
A little bit.
I actually wrote down Robert Wagner, Warren Beatty, mixed with a little bit of Robert Redford. Like,
oh,
I don't know. I think it was when he
I saw
smiled,
it.
he looked the most like Robert Redford, but I totally saw
I can see that.
the Robert Wagner and Warren Beatty.
When it first started, I thought, "Whoa!" I had to stop it and because I was like, "What's he doing in this movie?"
I was like, "There's no way. There's no way.
I know.
Couldn't afford them."
Every time he showed up, all I was Robert Wagner.
It's uncanny. It really was. But yeah.
No, he does look like him. I didn't necessarily make the connection. I knew he looked like somebody else, but yeah, he definitely looks like him.
Very good looking guy. Yeah.
And the jazz number that they play, I know that I'm going to keep going on about the jazz. Just
I love jazz.
Jazz, but especially like that big jazz like stuff from the 60s.
Oh, yeah.
I love that number that they had in that.
It's very good.
That was the juicy cherry on top for me.
Okay. So, they basically decide to call over Monica for a drink. And I love her outfit that she puts on too. I have to keep bringing up the fashion. I'm sorry, guys. It's so good. She's got like this kind of like halter kind of thing and like a long skirt with a slit in it. And it is, it is hot and it is cute.
It is gorgeous. It is absolutely gorgeous. Not very many women can pull off the underboob look. She made it look classy. Okay,
you get boobs from all angles, guys. In this one,
you sure do. And I'm not mad at it.
Neither was I.
I'm not mad at it either.
Not at all.
We can all agree on that.
You can't get mad at a nice pair of boobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, they're having this convo with Monica, sexy Monica. And she's kind of like, hey, so, what's up? You guys want to have some fun, kind of, like, both of you? And they're just like, no, we just wanted to sit with you and have some champagne. And she's like, okay. She's like, you guys are weird. And she literally says, I think something, she might even say you're weird. I don't know. But she's like, you guys are weird.
Yeah, they just kept staring at her. It's like, it's more uncomfortable than that scene in Showgirls. Like, Jesus Christ.
Oh my God. And I do like they show close up on her eyes several times in that conversation, which is really good.
Yes. And that's when they mention, she had green eyes, not brown eyes and all that. So it couldn't be his wife. No way.
Right.
No way.
Couldn't be.
Definitely not what's happening here.
No.
Okay. So next we see George actually calls Monica from a telephone booth. And she arrives in this taxi in an amazing coat. It's got like a big thing on the front and a big hood, and I literally hyperventilated when I saw it. It was so good. I digress. I was like, oh my God. Amazing. It turns out that he bought her number, which is fun. they go back to her place, and she unveils another amazing garment. It's like this colorful robe with butterfly sleeves, and then a great little orange or green set underneath, which was really amazing. They're sitting in there kind of talking. She, gets on the bed and everything and is like, okay, undress. He sees the tranquilizer bottle and has like a moment of thinking like, wait a minute, my wife and the tranquilizer, and okay. And then we have another sex scene. And do they do the glass in theirs too? I know it comes up a couple times.
I think they did, yeah.
But
Yeah,
they did
in this one. Okay.
in the first one. I hate to be the expert on this, but in the first one there was the sheet that was covering
Yeah.
the glass. Theirs it was not a sheet.
No sheet. Yep.
Yes.
I liked it.
Okay.
I thought it was great, and I love the green. I love the green little top and bottom. That was cute.
It's very cute.
Yeah.
Clothes in this movie were outstanding.
Yeah.
So good. And I mean, in a giallo, you have to have like high fashion. Like, I feel like fashion is such a big part of giallos, and they really hit that well.
I think it's a big part of the Italian culture. So it's you got to have it in the giallos, and 60s and 70s fashion is gorgeous.
Yeah. 70s is my favorite era of fashion.
Yeah.
Okay. So she gets a visitor, and I like how she's just telling him, well, you take care of it. And he's like, me? But and she's like, look at me. I can't. And she's like, go, do it. And it's her sexy friend who's searching for her tranquilizers or her sleeping medicine or whatever. And then he's like kind of cracking up like, no, okay. That's not yours. Okay. Maybe you're not my wife. I don't know.
Good Lord, this man.
I know. Yeah.
He doesn't know anything. I do love how she's bossing him around, though. I think that's really funny.
He should have known at that point it was his wife. But I'm pumped.
Yeah, as soon as she started bossing him around, that's her. That sounds like her.
Now I recognize
dead,
you.
So.
The difference is when he doesn't think it's his wife, he actually listens to her. Oh!
Then she gets a phone call, and she tells him to answer it, and it's Jane, and she's asking about a couple people. She asks about a Carol, and she's like, "That's not me. I don't know who that is. Like, wrong number, whatever." And yeah, so
it's funny how she's just like,
Jane is getting involved here.
Yeah, it's funny how she just like, nope, I don't know anybody by that name. Oh, don't know anybody by that name either. Like, and she's just so nonchalant about it. Like, okay, like,
yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but I started to wonder if those two were connected somehow, just a little bit.
Jane and Monica.
Yeah,
I kind of had some suspicions too. Yeah,
I really wanted that to be the case because I thought that would have been fun.
The twist at the end got me, but thinking the ladies had collaborated.
I really wanted the ladies to have collaborated.
I know.
And when it got to that moment, I was like, no fucking way, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Right?
I was wishing some of the ladies would have collaborated in this movie, but
many times. Yeah. I know I was waiting for it during one scene. We haven't gotten to it yet, so
we haven't gotten there yet. But yeah, we were close. We were close to that collaboration.
So close.
Right there.
What a cock.
Okay.
Right? Son of a bitch.
Thwarted. Okay. So, of course, George asked Jane about the phone call and everything. And he was like, whoa, what was that phone call about? And she's like, well, I think Monica is Susan. Why were you there, by the way? And
I check for myself. So
yeah,
in my fashion.
Yes, and they're having the conversation in the studio, and it's cool because they're projecting these images up on the wall, basically. And George is like, "Whoa, stop! I recognize that girl." And there's a girl on the wall, and everyone's like, who is she? Recognize her? What's that all about?
Where have I seen her before?
Yeah, where do I know her from? Okay. Then we go to our insurance guy. He's talking to his crew, and he's saying George, I didn't really find much on him, but Monica and Susan, that's something right there. And the police are going to figure that out too. And the police do figure something out there and bring Monica in for questioning. And meanwhile, they're searching her apartment and like throwing all of her stuff around. And like one of her Johns comes in, Ben, and he's like, "Oh, what's going on here? I gotta help her." Like yada yada yada. Let's see.
Ben's the hero, by the way.
Ben is the hero.
Ben is the hero.
And if you're a John and you walk in and the cops are tossing the place, you're not gonna be like, "I need to help you." You're gonna be like, "Oh shit, I'm in the wrong
backing away.
apartment.
I'm at the wrong
I gotta go over here. I was looking for Linda, so that's not her. I gotta go." So
Yeah. They're literally like, "Get out of here, dude." And he's like, wait, what? What's happening though? And no,
Yeah.
they're like, "Get out of here, man."
Yeah.
So, they get the idea that they want to check out, Susan's body to see if they can confirm that it's actually her. They roll her out of the morgue and her body's all, gross and decayed. And honestly, that's the most like Fulci like moment, like effect kind of thing throughout the whole movie, as far as like what we're expecting with a Fulci movie, basically.
I was very confused at this point because I'm like, why is her body already looking sticky? But yeah, so
Yeah,
but it was
How is this
beautiful.
more keeping these bodies? Yeah.
I'm like, this is not ethical. Do you guys have a fridge or no? Like, what the hell? Yeah. Hi, everybody. Just wanted to thank all of you guys for listening and supporting the podcast. If you haven't already, please follow us, like us, leave us a review. Little things like this can really help the podcast out so much. Also, if you want to hear your name mentioned in our episodes at the beginning and receive fun little goodies from the entire Bloody Essentials team, you can join our Patreon. It's 100% like no commitment. All the proceeds go back into the podcast. It helps us upgrade our recording equipment, our editing software, all those good things. And it also helps pay for our travel expenses with our upcoming appearances. So that can add up really fast, but we're looking to hopefully expand to other conventions and going to other states to see spooky attractions. So funds like that will help significantly. Also, I don't know if you guys know, but before we can actually like start receiving funds through YouTube and things like that, as horror creators, we need at least 500 followers on YouTube. So if you aren't already following us, but you listen to us and you really like our content, please like us, subscribe. It really helps out so much and it allows us to keep doing what we're doing. So we love bringing horror to you each week, whether it's content creators, our thoughts on a film. So we really want to keep doing this for as long as possible. And money is unfortunately a big way to stay on top of that. So like I said, all of your support really means a lot, and you get fun little goodies from all of us. We got Bloody Essentials merch. We got horror goodies that we've been saving for you guys, whether it's stickers, horror collectibles, like I'm talking like shirts from your favorite horror companies, Fright Rags, all those good places. And then, of course, we've got some NECA figures and all those kinds of things. So if you want to receive fun horror goodies from your Bloody Essentials crew, join our Patreon. It's going to be a really good time. We also have a Discord channel and unedited episodes before they air. So that's always exciting. And we're hoping to be doing movie parties really soon. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, just thank you guys so much for listening. And we'll get back to the show now.
In the 60s, they still used ice.
Did they? Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
There you go.
I didn't know that. That's interesting. That does make sense though. Yeah.
That was total sarcasm, by the way. I don't know.
Oh, shut up!
yeah,
And we're all like, "Oh, okay, yeah."
I would have believed you.
I believed it.
Say whatever.
You jerk.
Oh, that's so funny. Her sister's sure that it's her. She's like, "Oh no, that's her. That's got to be her."
How would you know?
I know.
How would you know?
When you know, you know. Apparently,
No, you don't know.
She's in on it.
She's in on it.
I was gonna
She's
say
full of
more on
shit.
that. Okay, and then, I didn't write exactly why this appeared, but there's this moment, like, cinematography-wise, where you get all these, like, fun boxes, like, on the screen, and there's beakers in them, and of
That-
different colors.
I wrote in my notes, science is happening.
Yes. I
Because they're
loved
like,
it,
we're going to
though.
get dental records and do all this investigating. And I'm like, science is happening. This is what they think it looks like.
It's the 60s, and that's the moment where the acid kicks in.
Yeah.
Yes,
There you
it is. And I loved it. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Okay. So, the police are asking Monica what she knows about the whole situation. They also let us and her know that they think that Susan was poisoned. Monica brings up this lady, Betty, who hired her and everything. So there's Betty that comes into the mix. The police think George is in on the whole thing as well. So,
Husband is always the
you know.
first. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
I would have suspected
There's-
him too if I was a cop. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a mystery afoot here. Okay. Jane is like, we got to find the girl in the photo. It turns out that the girl in the photo was the woman who was the nurse when
Mhm.
Susan died. The nurse that
Mhm.
George was like, oh, hey, who are you?
That no one can find.
Yeah, that nobody can find. I think she was she a lady of the night
It's
or
implied.
something?
Yeah.
It's
'cause
implied that she might be
she
a lady of the
knows
night.
Monica. Yeah. Monica knows
We're gonna
her
go
and
with
all
yes because everybody in there was a whore. So
that. Hey,
I mean,
Hey.
we're just gonna say yes. So
she is a lady of the night. She's not a whore. Calm down. You do
Please
what you
tell
got to
me-
do.
Please tell me the difference.
There is a difference. They're classy about it.
Yes.
Money.
So
That's true, money.
let's see.
Money.
Yeah.
Money's the difference.
So Monica gets sprung out, and her guy Ben that we saw earlier and her talk, and that whole scene is pretty fun. Just the way that
Yeah.
she treats him is like, yeah.
She's very
Um,
annoyed with him. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's kind of egging him on, because he was gonna spring her out, but like
Foreshadowing.
Yep.
definitely foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Because he even says, he's like, you can't deny me, like yada yada, and she's like, oh yeah, and then you'll kill me or whatever, and he's like, I will kill you.
And yeah, he does. He was like, I will kill you. And then he's also like, if it's many guys, I don't care. If it's one guy, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So remember that, guys.
Yep.
Okay. So we go back to the photo studio. Our photo guy has Monica there, and she's on the floor, and they're kind of setting up a photo.
Yes, they
Jane
are.
comes in, and
Yes.
this is when we have our like almost lady collaboration moment. The almost was really lovely too. I'll just put it out there. The almost was good.
This was
Not
the
for a
most.
guy.
Hey.
Yeah, no, we don't
this-
want almost.
This was the most suspenseful part of the whole movie for me.
That is
I was
true.
like, will they? Won't they? They should, but they won't because it's 1969.
But the best
Yeah.
way to describe it is anticipation.
Patient. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. The leather. Yeah. The glass again.
I know. I was gonna say we get the glass again, which was a really cool scene. Always is. Like
lovely.
that's
Close
always
up
gonna
on
win
the
me over.
eyes.
Yeah.
Love it.
She's kind of like slowly, like she like kind of undresses her a little bit and all this, and they have kind of like a moment of recognition too. So you're like, ooh, what's gonna happen now? Like, and then she brings up the photo of the girl, and she's like, oh, recognize her? And she's like, no, I don't. And she's like, no, this is Liz. This is your friend, right? And she's like, okay, she is my friend, but Liz left, and that's when George comes in, and they're like, no, we need to know where Liz is because I didn't kill my wife, but everybody thinks I did. And it's Liz who poisoned my wife. So we need to find her. Okay.
Good luck finding her.
Yeah.
They did. They just didn't know.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Exactly. The police are now thinking that this Betty woman, Monica, and Liz all acted on, George's instructions to kill his wife. So they still think George is responsible and that, they carried it out for him. And Monica basically sells him up the river at this point and says, yeah, he paid me money and there's an envelope and, yeah, it was him. And they have the envelope. They found it in the apartment. They do a fingerprint match, which was a fun little scene, how they kind of did the fingerprints. I liked that. Yeah. And it's a match. Okay. So things are not looking good for George.
Yeah.
That's a very perfect fingerprint too, to just lift off an envelope, I gotta say.
Oh yeah. A little too perfect, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Meanwhile, the things are going pretty great for Monica. She's strolling to the post office. She's looking great. She heads out to the airport. And then we get the moment that we've kind of been waiting for, where she takes off the blonde wig. She pops out the contacts. And we're like, oh, it really is Susan. She is the wife. That's right. And then her coat was reversible. So
that was so cool. I love that.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, John?
It reminded me of something in one of the Pink Panther movies.
Yeah, definitely.
Pink Panther that has Robert Wagner in it.
Of course.
The lady that is Inspector Clouseau's wife is actually having an affair with Peter Niven and with Robert Wagner, having like a triumph.
Yeah.
And there's a scene where she wears a wig and she has an out into the elevator. She's being chased in the elevator. She takes the wig off. She takes her dress and turns her purse inside and out and everything. Shoes. And it's completely elevator is going up and they get up. They open the door and it's a completely different. She must have gone off on another floor. So that.
Oh, yeah, those Pink Panther movies are so good.
Speaking of the Pink Panther, the music in this made me think of Henry Mancini, who did the music for the Pink Panther and a lot of other stuff.
Yeah, Henry Mancini was incredible, absolutely incredible. He did a lot of scores for a lot of well-known classic films that you've heard of. I believe he even did
Icon.
Breakfast at Tiffany's, I think.
Yes.
One of my favorite movies, Moon River. Yep.
Damn.
Very cool. Legend.
Yeah, definitely an icon. Okay, so we go to George. George is sitting, behind bars, and he's basically awaiting the gas chamber at this point.
Yeah.
His brother comes in to talk to him, as a brother would do, right? As a brother would do. And then, he's like, hey, the insurance money that took care of the clinic, that's good. And it's like, oh, I know you're innocent, but you're going to be here. You're going to go to the gas chamber and the clinic is going to go to me. And then he's like, also, by the way, I did this. I'm the reason that you're going to the gas chamber, bro. Okay.
And I've been sleeping with your wife for years.
I've been with her for a while, and I've always hated the fact that you got to be with her because you're the one who had the money. So, we created Monica over time. When you were busy working at the clinic all those nights, she was like setting herself up as Monica. There's no Betty. We made that up. We planted the evidence. And then your little publicity stunt at the beginning with the fake stories about the heart transplants or whatever, everybody thinks you're full of shit. So good luck trying to defend yourself. And it's like, whoa, there's a moment where I forget what it's called. There's a specific word for this, but the camera tilts. So it's kind of like sideways. And it's when George is standing up and it creates like a chaotic kind of feel, and like just his face when he's coming to this realization that he's been double crossed by his own brother and his wife. So that was pretty fun. I actually really liked that whole moment when the brother lays out what he did. And I'm like, why wasn't I suspecting the brother? I wasn't necessarily. I forgot about him a little bit.
I did too. Yeah.
I was going back and forth between the brother and his the girlfriends came
Yeah.
out.
Mhm.
In the moment in that scene when the priest leaves and the brother starts talking at him and he's looking at him with that shit-eating grin, like, and just looking all pitiful and pathetic, and the brother starts talking, I said, "You son of a bitch, you're the one that fucking did all this shit."
Yep.
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 And he just kept talking and talking. I was like,
This
just
fucking guy.
oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought the little twist was really fun. I mean, like a Giallo is really like a murder mystery at its core, and you know, Giallo actually refers to the color yellow because of all the pulpy detective novels would have these yellow covers. So I feel like that little like that twist, that like double cross is such a Giallo like thing to do.
Yeah.
Like
Very
textbook
much so.
Giallo kind of reveal. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, there's not much that George can do with this. You know, but his lawyer is working on it. Jane's trying to help as well. You know, they question the servants at the house or the people who were there, all trying to figure it out. They come up with this plan to exhume the body again and compare the dental molds, right? Which seems like a great idea. But gasp, the dental mold was actually from the clinic. So
I
that
got
can't
so
be right.
mad.
Like,
I got so mad. I was like, no, damn it.
I know, because they basically, you know, replaced Susan's dental mold with Liz's dental mold, the body that we actually saw,
Yes.
you know?
Exactly.
So that isn't going to help him out in the situation. Meanwhile, you know, Henry is like landing in Paris to meet up with Susan at a restaurant. And then we have this great sequence where they're setting up the gas chamber for George. And like, I love the moment where he's in there and he's looking at everybody outside and he knows that all these people were in on it because Marta is there, the sister, she was in on it all along. And I love the eyes, like the moment where he's kind of looking around at that.
The look that she gives him right back when he notices she's there. Oh my God. I got chills on my spine. So good.
I was pissed off through this entire scene. I was mad
Definitely.
because George, whatever George's misgivings are, he did not deserve that fate
Absolutely.
Right.
at all.
Yeah.
No.
And like he was gonna break it off like with his wife and like let her move on and he could move on and everything. And it's like, yeah, he had an affair, but like he doesn't deserve to die.
I think that he
Yeah, I
genuinely,
know.
did love Jane.
I do too.
I
Yeah.
think
I
the
do
scene,
too.
the scene where she says, "Okay, it's over, and I'm leaving," and blah 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 blah, and he follows the train and he shows up there waiting for her.
You don't do that if you don't really love somebody, I
That's
think.
for somebody that you don't do that for just a I hate
Yeah.
shit. Fuck buddy. You do
Right.
that.
Just a piece of ass.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And when she admits that she actually loves him back, and that's why she's got to leave to protect herself, and he's like, "Oh, she does love me." That's when he makes that
know.
romantic gesture for her. So
I forgot to even mention that, but that line really hit me where she's like,
that
"Well, I'm in love with you, so that's why I have to go because if I don't go, I'm going to remain in love with you and
and you're gonna hurt me. Yeah.
we can't
Yeah.
do that." So, I'm trying to protect my heart here. Oh, yeah. And like I also really think it's cool going back to the beginning when I said, you know, so far we're kind of painting off George as he might not be a stand-up guy. We kind of have this like little empathy flip almost for him because again at the beginning he's making eyes at the nurse, you know, he has an affair and you know we don't really start to see him until a little bit later and now you know we're looking at him through totally different eyes. He's been totally screwed over, you know. So I thought that was a fun kind of flip how they presented him in the beginning versus what happens to him later on.
Absolutely.
One of
And
the-
he's just so pitiful.
Love about the movie is yes, not too long ago that we're talking about Jallos, and she said that what she loves about Jallos is that it's beautiful people doing terrible things to each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
This movie is a bunch of people who do a terrible thing to a guy that's not so great,
Yeah.
but he doesn't deserve it, and he actually turns out to be better than
Yep.
people that were playing all of this.
Exactly. Yeah.
People who
100%.
were criticizing his behavior early on too, because his brother was all like, you shouldn't have done that with the story of the heart transplants and all of this stuff. So yeah, I thought that was pretty brilliant how they did that. It was cool.
Very subtle too.
Oh yes, I've gone back and rewatched this movie a couple of times. There's lots of layers that
Definitely is.
like that. So I had a ball.
I did too, honestly. I liked this movie. So but so he's getting ready in his, the gas chamber and everything, and we're like, what's gonna happen? Is he actually going to die here? And then we get this bit where there's a broadcaster in the gas chamber, and he's starting to tell this story, and I love the whole thing, right?
It felt Walter Cronkite. So like today at 6:07.
Yes. It was awesome. That would have made for such good television too. Like, oh my gosh.
My God.
And as we're getting this broadcaster in the gas chamber, we're wondering like what happened next. We're also like getting back in Paris, and Ben and Susan, are at this restaurant. They're meeting up. I think they touch hands or something.
Pause for just a second.
Yeah.
Pause for just a second. So when they touch hands, this is the first time you ever see black gloves in this movie, right? And normally in a giallo, it's at the beginning, right? When a murder happens. Yeah. I love. And granted, like giallos weren't really popular yet. Like we didn't have the rules, but I love that you get a black glove at the end. I loved it so much. It's like, black glove. Yeah.
Definitely. I liked that too. And then, wait, what? It's Ben, the guy who loved Monica. And Ben is there in Paris, and he sees her and sees him, and he just shoots him dead.
Good.
I stood up and cheered. I stood up in my chair. I was so happy.
Yes.
You knew they weren't going to get a happy, end. Like they couldn't have. With everything they did, they couldn't have.
Yeah, they don't get to run off into the sunset together. No way.
Nope.
Yep. And then we learned that, basically George got the governor called on that phone that the broadcaster showed in the nick of time, basically like canceling the execution. And I mean, that's basically the movie. So George was saved in the end, and Ben came in and killed those other guys.
Yep.
Good.
And that is One on Top of the Other. And I just have to say, I love the name One on Top of the Other. Perversion Story is such a shitty name in comparison to that. Like, that is a giallo name. One on Top of the Other, that is a giallo name, for sure.
For sure. Yeah. All right. I got a few fun facts before we get into rating this movie. If I miss anything, let me know. And if these are incorrect, I'm sorry. It's the internet. It's the internet's fault. So it apparently took 1 year for Fulci and Roberto I was practicing this beforehand. I swear. Gianviti? I don't know. To write the script because Fulci was determined to make a thriller with no cops in which a story unfolds internally. And because of this, he had difficulty giving the film a satisfactory ending. I think he did a great job. In his later life, he declared the script to be one of his best works and was especially proud to have made a giallo prior to the genre's mainstream popularity with the release of Argento's The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. So I thought that was really fun. I was going to
say, yeah, this is almost like a proto-giallo, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was a little, like, very at the beginning, for sure.
Yeah. So I thought that was cool. The script was originally supposed to take place in Louisiana and actually featured a symbolic pre-title sequence depicting a garden spider ensnaring a locust in its web and eating it, leaving only its shell. Unfortunately, the movie was rewritten to take place in San Francisco as a cost-saving measure because the producer was shooting another movie there, and he figured he'd just save time.
And money, probably.
Money helps, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, but in Fulci's later works, he primarily used the setting of Louisiana. George was originally written to have his death sentence carried out via electric chair, but because of the location shift, this was changed to the infamous gas chamber in San Quentin prison, which I believe was the actual gas chamber in San Quentin prison. And apparently the trailer pointed out that I don't know who this person is. You guys might, because I didn't, like, you guys are more into true crime than I am, but Carol Chessman, apparently he had just been killed in the gas chamber there. And so the trailer for this movie pointed out that the prison staff responsible for that execution reprised their roles for the film.
That's
Very cool.
Yeah.
Guys that were in the gas chamber doing all that stuff.
They were the prison guards, right?
They were the guys that do that.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
I thought that was
that's
really
safe.
cool.
Yeah.
One had died.
Yeah. I thought that was really
Wow.
cool. And I've been to the Missouri State Penitentiary had a gas chamber. So I had been to like a smaller version of that. And like it looks very similar to that. So like seeing all the little things and the subtleties, like it's spot on. Like it's really cool.
Very creepy.
Wow.
Very creepy. Very
It is
creepy. And San
creepy.
Quentin is such an infamous prison.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
you know, all of the
Oh,
big
big
serial killers,
time.
Charles Manson was there and all that. And like it was really cool to actually see inside the prison
was
in
gonna
1969.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, that's the most up close and personal I've ever been with like a
Yeah.
gas chamber, where I was like, oh, that's how it all works. Okay. Because he goes through and does,
They
like,
show the
draw that
tubing and
out, you know?
everything,
Yeah,
yeah.
they show the tubing and everything, and I was like, oh wow, like that's what it looks like. That's how it works.
The only thing different with the gas chamber I went to was that the glass where the people sit to watch, it's a one-way glass, so the person in the room can't see who's in there.
Okay.
So yeah, but that may just have been that prison. It could be different for every prison, you know.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yep. But that's all the fun facts I could find because there wasn't too much on this movie. So John, if you've got others, I'd love to hear them.
Do you know that whenever they were going over the handwriting
Yeah.
those and stuff, the guy that was giving the little presentation that was talking, that was Fulci.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
I'm so mad I didn't realize that.
I
Yeah.
didn't know it either, unless
I didn't even pick it up.
unless the information that I heard is bullshit. That's Fulci.
I believe it. I believe it.
Yeah, he did a lot of cameos in his films.
I was gonna say he pops up in a lot of his movies, so I believe that was true. Now I'm gonna have to watch it again so I can.
I know, just to see him. I love him.
And I just want to say this because I listened to. There's not a whole lot of other people that's talked about this movie, and some of them that I completely disagree with them. This movie was not an unofficial remake of Vertigo. I don't want to hear that ever again. There's one element of this movie that can kind of, sort of, but not really be Vertigo-esque, and it's not a remake of Vertigo. In fact, this movie was giving me 90s late night Cinemax erotic thriller vibe.
Oh yeah.
In
Oh
fact,
yeah.
Totally.
this movie in particular would be a great double feature, especially the way that the movie they mirror each other and then they have a different ending. Is this and Body Heat would be
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
I'd
Yeah.
watch that. I'd do that double feature.
Definitely.
they both have that sort of slightly noirish feel. Body Heat
Very.
probably much, but the way the ending is and the way that things, that would be a great double.
Oh
I
yeah. I agree.
I would definitely go see that. That's perfect.
I love film noir, and I thought Fulci did a really cool job doing things early in his career that are very uncharacteristic of Fulci, but he hadn't quite made a name for himself yet. So
Yeah.
I think the optimism and the whimsy, John, that you mentioned earlier, is very interesting seeing in Fulci. So
Definitely.
let's, yeah.
That there's a reason for that. I did not know this until after I'd seen the movie, but this movie was the last movie that he had made before his wife passed away.
Oh,
Wow.
Okay.
She did not die of natural causes.
oh, I didn't know that.
Can't bring up that because it makes people unhappy. But I think going through that, I've got some friends that are going through that with family. I've had that happen in my family.
Yeah.
And I think that some of that kind of wild, because I think that if Fulci had done this movie later in his career, George wouldn't have survived. George would have died.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
The bad guys would have gotten it in the end, but George would have died.
Yeah. George
Yeah.
would have died.
Definitely.
That's really sad.
And
Considering how long
That's
he was
an
making
insight that
movies.
that's an insight that makes sense though. Like definitely glad you brought that up because that would I see what you're saying with that, like big time. It would have been different if it was later in his career.
I haven't seen a lot of his earlier movies, but apparently
Yeah.
Same.
he did things like sex comedy and
Oh,
all kinds of movies. Lucio Fulci movies that were like earlier in his career,
Yeah.
all kinds of wild, crazy. And he even worked in some westerns and stuff with like
Mhm.
Yeah.
second unit director.
Nice.
And I just think that going through that,
Yeah.
you
That's a lot.
it changes people, and
Yeah.
and it has affected kind of sort of the way that I see a lot of his movies now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes
And
me
I
want
know
to go
he
back
had
and
a lot
rewatch
of-
some of them.
Yeah, and I mean, like, end of his life, like, was not a happy time for Fulci. I mean, he died alone. He was very ill. Like, he definitely had struggles in his life for sure, and that might have been a big reason why.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get into rating this movie now that we
Yeah.
have all that information.
All right.
John?
why don't we start with you?
Yeah.
I'm gonna give Joe Barb ratings. 4 stars. Big Papa says, check this out. I enjoyed this movie. Now, when you go into this movie, don't be thinking giallo. Don't be thinking of that. Think thriller. Think erotic thriller. In fact, think like the late 80s, early 90s Cinemax erotic. We come on, HBO After Dark or whatever, which my childhood was filled with.
Yes.
Yes.
One of the reasons that I really enjoyed this movie is because it made me think of all of that. Maybe some of those guys either, or maybe they didn't. I don't know. Maybe Fulci was just ahead of his time, but it gave me those same feelings, and I recommend it. It's you see giallo in its earlier stages where it hasn't moved to what we think of and we know of, and you see a side of Fulci's filmmaking that I had never experienced before, and it makes me want to dive into some of his earlier stuff even more just to see what's there.
Definitely.
Okay. Jamie, what about you?
Yeah, so this was a first time watch for me. You guys know that I love Fulci. I do. And there are some other kind of like almost proto-giallos or very early giallos that I've seen. There's one that Bava did that's called, I think it's called The Evil Eye. And you know, it was like the same kind of vein where, you know, you don't have like the vibrant, really big kills in it, but it is more of a kind of like stripped down like thriller or murder mystery. I liked this movie. I liked the mystery of it. I liked the layers in it. I liked these little giallo elements that you get. Again, don't go into it thinking that you're going to get like the Fulci that you're used to getting, because you're not. But I would definitely recommend it. I don't know if it's for everybody, but I'm gonna give it like a solid like 6. It's in the middle for me. I might even like it more when I watch it again. You know, it's one of those movies I feel like it might grow on me even more as I watch it. But it was really interesting, and the cinematography alone is absolutely stunning. So highly recommend it. And if none of you guys have seen I think he did other Westerns too, but Fulci has a Western called Four of the Apocalypse. And if you guys haven't seen it, it is really fun. It's like a group of definitely anti-heroes, like, and it's awesome. So if you are interested in watching a Fulci Western, Four of the Apocalypse is really, really cool. Recommend it.
Okay. You know, this is one of those movies that I think is definitely going to grow on me the more I watch it and the more it sits with me. Watching it in the moment, primarily because I had other things going on later today, I think I was just like, why is it taking so long? Like, it just feels like it's dragging a little bit. And I checked my watch more than once, but I think it's because like I saw the first twist coming that she's still alive. Like, clearly she's still alive. Come on. And I think I got a little impatient. And then by the time the brother comes in and he does his little speech, I'm like I can't stop looking away. And I'm like, fuck the plans that I had. I need to finish this. And the cinematography is incredible. The fashion is gorgeous. This other side of Fulci in this movie is very interesting. Very interesting. And then hearing what you had to say, John, about how he lost his wife and everything, that makes sense. Because that would definitely change a person drastically. With all that being said, I really did enjoy this movie. I like boobs. You can't be mad when boobs are on the screen, especially when they're
Who
decorated.
doesn't like boobs?
Right.
Especially when they're decorated with butterflies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And while this movie did drag in a few places, I think that this is a very masterful, well done film. Everybody is good looking. They do horrible things to each other, and that is the key to any successful giallo film, in my opinion. I'm gonna give it a little bit lower than you, Jamie. I'm gonna give it a 5.5. But I would definitely recommend this to other giallo fans, especially Fulci lovers. I think that if you're wanting to get into giallo and like see where it came from and how it evolved, this is a great one to start with.
Great.
So, and very historical because you get to see inside San Quentin prison. That was really cool. Like, that was just like the cherry on top for me. So
Yeah, that gas chamber was cool looking.
it was really cool.
And creepy, knowing that it was the real one, but that's so cool too.
Yeah. Ethan?
All right, as far as a movie with titties, I'm gonna give it a 10. Love you some titties. I mean, that's it.
10 for titties.
Listen, 10 for titties. So, teenage boys, this is the movie for you to watch if you want to see some titties. Anyway, with that being said, I did think it dragged a little bit. I liked the twists. In the fashion, the cinematography, all of that was very good. As far as rating it as a movie, this will make sense in a minute. I would say probably a 5.5. It's good. It's a thriller. Cool. As far as it being a horror movie or a giallo or what I expected, it's a 2. I was not scared. It didn't, there were no elements of horror in it for me. So if I'm rating it as like a horror host, if you want to watch a horror movie, this ain't it. You want to watch a decent thriller? Yeah, I would recommend that. This is a good movie for that. But as far as a horror movie, not my cup of tea.
Unless you're into Italian horror, in which case it's perfect for you.
But still, I mean, I'm not a huge, although Italian, I'm not a huge Italian horror fan. I've many recommendations from Jamie, and I've loved them. They've been great. This to me didn't feel nothing like it. It just, I was
Okay.
just like, it's a good movie. It's a good thriller, but it's not a horror movie. So if I'm rating
Yeah.
it as just a person on a
That's fair.
podcast, 5.5. If I'm rating it as a horror podcast host, it's a 2. So
Okay.
do what you will with that. So
I think that's pretty
But
solid.
Ethan, you're a slasher fan though, right?
I'm a what?
You're a slasher guy though. You are a big slasher.
Oh yeah.
Slasher.
Oh
guy.
yeah.
Well, Giallo is like slashers hotter, older Italian cousin.
It's
And
true.
I get
love
that.
that.
I do. I get that. But this cousin was ugly, and it wasn't a horror movie.
There were
Titties.
boobies though.
Like I said, 10 out of 10 titties. It was great for the titties.
There were some
So,
great titties.
Yeah.
This was not a horror film, and in fact, I
Right.
would, most Giallos aren't horror. I wouldn't consider them horror.
But they have, and I can agree with that, but they have major elements of horror in them.
Yeah,
This one to me just did not.
that makes sense. Yeah, there were very you didn't see any on-screen kills till the end
Right.
in that regard. Normally you have at least one on-screen kill and it's pretty gory.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's a fair assessment, I think. It would be like calling Basic Instinct a horror film.
Right. Exactly. That's a great movie.
Great movie.
Yeah, great movie.
Fucking terrifying what she does
Right.
in more ways
Yeah.
than one. But yeah, not really horror.
Right.
But according to Randy, Showgirls is.
Oh, I love Showgirls.
Yes!
Oh, love Showgirls.
I do too.
Any excuse to talk about that movie. Let's do it. Let's have it on the podcast. There is nothing more scary than a woman turning against another woman. Whew.
My God.
Especially if it's your best friend.
They didn't that old saying that hell hath no fury as a woman scorned. I mean,
It's true.
that they have been repeating that for years for nothing. I mean,
It's true.
That's true.
I've felt hell's fury quite a few times.
Yeah.
Sending you all the hugs, John.
Well,
I love it. He's like, well,
Yeah.
is what it is.
Yeah, that's been one on top of the other, Lucio Fulci's masterpiece, and a great addition to any Giallo lover collection. This has been so much fun, John. We had some recommendations from you earlier. Do you want to tell our listeners a little bit about these other movies that are actually horror, that are not Giallo, as we promise?
Yeah. Thought about that. It's like, I'm going to make some recommendations because you're going to come on here and they're going to say this bald-headed fuck, you don't know anything.
Usually they say that about me, that bald-headed fucker.
I know. I'm taking one for the team. Trapped Alive, late 80s horror film. This is kind of sort of a lost horror film. It was made low budget in Wisconsin in the late 80s. And I think that it got the same fate that a lot of movies did around that time after Silent Night, Deadly Night, where hitters just pulled it and it kind of disappeared. And Arrow revived it from. And this is a great movie. It's a holiday movie around Christmas time. Some kids, some escaped convicts, and a dark mind that's filled with a dark, nasty, scary secret.
Ooh.
Sounds
fun.
Hello.
Mosquito. This is a movie that I saw for the first time when I was much younger. This came out in the early 90s. I want to say like 93, 94. And I
Fun.
saw it on Monster Vision like years ago. And
Aw.
I saw Gunnar just before he had passed. I was talking to him about this movie because it's got Gunnar Hansen in it. If you know who Gunnar Hansen is, you need to see this movie. It's
I need to see it.
about
And
large
if you don't know who Gunnar Hansen is, please come out from under the rock.
is
They know who Gunnar Hansen is,
The-
even without knowing that it's Gunnar Hansen.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
is the Leatherface. He is Leatherface.
Yes,
He is
your
Leatherface.
And
There's
I
one
was,
Leatherface and one Sally, but don't get me started. No.
I was talking about this movie, and they were updating it, and then they were going to release it on Blu-ray, but he couldn't remember who had done it. But and I found out about it. It's about big mosquitoes, all practical effects, pre-CGI, and all that bullshit. So it's real monster movie. And if you're a fan of the Stooges, forgive me, I can't remember the dude's name.
Can't think of his name either.
Guitarist. Hold on. In my head. Ron Ashton.
I thought it was Ashton and Ashton.
He was one of the for the Stooges is in the movie, and just a great movie. The last one, the movie that came out in the early 2000s called Creature. I am one of like people that saw this in the theater. I won't spoil this movie for you at all. Backwoods, hillbilly, cryptids, sex cults, and
Yes.
Sid Haig. I mean, do you need any help to get you interested in a movie?
Hell no.
Sold.
and the fact that they wanted to make this sort of a franchise kind of movie.
Oh.
That would have been sick.
Yeah.
This is not like a masterpiece by any means, but this is a fun movie and a movie that you will watch and you will enjoy and you will be glad that it exists. Completely and totally, utterly politically correct and all of that. And
I love it.
I love
just-
that. Yeah. My kind of movie.
Yes.
And Sid Haig is very Sid Haig.
Oh. That's how we
love
like him.
Yeah. Yeah. Love Sid
Oh.
Haig. So excited to watch these, John.
Me too.
You never steer me wrong in terms of movie recommendations, so I'm very excited. I might save Trapped Alive closer to Christmas because I will not be watching anything Christmas before November. And those that do are nuts.
I honestly think that all three of you will like most of these.
I think so
Oh.
too.
I can tell I'm gonna like them. Definitely tell like I'm gonna like them.
Yeah, I love creature
Yes.
features and
I do too. Love cryptids.
yeah, love
It was-
cryptids.
Difficult for me to call down to three because I had several that I was like, but I like this, but I like that, but I did call it down to three.
Thank you, John, so much for coming on. We appreciate it. We always love talking horror with you.
Absolutely.
And you're
Yeah, this is
welcome
fun.
back anytime. Anytime. You just name the day,
Well, I appreciate it.
of course. And remember, guys, if you ever find yourself in a sticky situation with a woman that looks like your wife, remember, don't have sex.
Don't do drugs. Watch out for those tranquilizers.
And certainly, don't die. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.